Could the secret to your business success lie in the relationship you built? Discover how mastering these connections can really transform your entrepreneurial journey and open doors you never imagined. Guys, I'm Jarod Lehn, founder of Socialtopia, and this is Fit for Business, episode 62. You don't want to miss it. So I've seen, whether it's with clients, your team, or other stakeholders, these connections, relationships, they aren't just important, they're really the lifeblood of every successful business, right? I'm no stranger to the world of entrepreneurship, here at Socialtopia, going on 7 years, with years of experience, building this business and being in sales and marketing for, 15 years. I've learned the power of turning authentic relationships really into having somewhat of a competitive edge. So for me, success isn't just about numbers, it's about the quality of the people that you surround yourself with as well. That's another avenue of success I consider. So I'm so excited to be here today, ready to share, what I've learned in my journey along the way on how building these meaningful connections can really help to transform the way you're doing business today or you plan to do business in the future, right? What I've learned early in sales is that relationships are really the backbone of any successful business, right? Right? Relationships are a two-way street. Just remember that, not a one-way street, right? So when you're building that relationship, think at the back of your head, you know, although you're looking to build this relationship, don't necessarily go into it like thinking, hey, what's the outcome? What can I get out of this, right? Because people genuinely can kind of like pick up on that, right? You have to go in it with an open mind, an open heart, and not be selfish, be selfless, right? And at the core lies a fundamental ingredient. And this is where I was going with that: trust, right? Without trust, even the best businesses or strategies or ideas can fall absolutely short, right? Trust enables partnerships to flourish, right? Teams to collaborate effectively and clients to feel confident in your services, including mine, right? But I've learned this along the way too, right? Trust doesn't happen just by accident. I heard this quote in a movie a long time ago. I can never remember it for the life of me. If you guys know the name of this movie, drop your comments below in the video. First, you have to take the leap of faith. The trust part comes later, right? That's a quote that I love from a movie, and I just can't think of it at the top of my head. So again, if you know that quote and what that movie's from, drop the comments below, right? And exactly the results of intentional and consistent efforts to build meaningful relationships, right? And that's what that means, right? In order to do that, it takes time, energy, and really a genuine commitment to connecting with others on a deeper level rather than what am I going to get out of this, right? When you think about some of the most pivotal moments in entrepreneurship, right? I think it often boils down to, you know, who you know and the bond you created with them, right? Let's take this for instance, raising capital, which for instance is rarely just about a pitch deck or numbers, right? More often, it's about whether investors trust you, not just with their money, but with the vision and integrity of your business, right? Does that make sense? Similarly, securing a big client isn't solely about offering the best product or the best service. It's really about building rapport, understanding their needs, and demonstrating that you're a reliable partner who actually gives a shit about their business, right? Because the importance of relationships really extends to your team as well, right? A business is only as strong as the people behind it. By fostering trust and genuine connections with your team members, this is where you can create an environment where hopefully collaboration is thriving and creativity is genuinely unlocked, right? People who feel valued and connected are motivated, right, to give their best and align with the company's vision, right? These relationships keep the wheels turning, especially during the challenging days, right? when you need all hands on deck, like a ship, right? You're a captain of the ship, you need all hands on deck, right? So ultimately, relationships are the glue that holds everything together in entrepreneurship. Clients, investors, employees, partners, they all play a role in your success, in the company's success. But, excuse me, only if the relationships you build with them are based on trust and authenticity, right? When you put the effort to nurture these connections, right, you're not just growing your business, you're really creating a network of people who believe in you, they support you, and they really want to see you win, right? And succeed. Like for me, I want everybody I know to win. I want everybody to succeed. I feel deep down in my gut, I can feel it here that everybody I know and care about at some way, shape, or form deserves to win in life, in the game of life, no matter what that may be to them, him or her. Success, what is that like? Family, personal, business, everything. I just want everybody to fucking win. And that more than anything, I think what makes what we do, what I do, truly rewarding in entrepreneurship, right? Relationships. Building meaningful relationships, as a business owner, entrepreneur, it's not just like a nice to have. I think it's an essential component, short-term and long-term success, right? The first step is to shift your focus outward. Instead of just, trying to be interested, be genuinely interested in the people you meet. Ask questions. Listen. That's one thing about me. Like, I think I'm a very good listener. I think so. I can talk a lot and I can just like kind of keep the conversation going and plant seeds and get people to continue like, all right, keep going. Because I genuinely want to know. I want to hear. I truly care about people's needs, their concerns, their goals, right? And the fact of the matter is, when you can approach like any type of interaction with authenticity, you're creating this environment where people trust you, right? And they can take root. They're planted, they're grounded, they're with you because they believe in you. And I think people naturally gravitate to others who show the real interest, right? Not just those who are looking to gain something. Another thing, right? Consistency. It's strong in relationships, right? Building these strong connections. It's not enough to meet someone once and expect the relationship to flourish on its own, right? Make the effort to stay in touch. Same goes with friendships, right? A text message, a quick email, a short call. Hey, how's it going? Even if it's just like a simple thank you note can go a long way. Showing the value of your relationship, right? Small gestures of genuine acknowledgement are often more impactful than grand displays, right? As they really demonstrate reliability and sincerity over time. Here's another thing. I think another critical element in delivering value before you expect anything in return, right? Be the person who offers help, shares insights, or provides solutions without strings attached, right? Here's a prime example. I have one client of mine. One client, we do their digital marketing, like soup to nuts, social media management, advertising across the board. Been with them for a few years, Good friend of mine now, and their business is flourishing. They give all the time without expecting anything. Like when somebody comes with them with a business question that's just starting out in their field, or even people that are experienced in their field, they always come to this one guy for questions. And even when I speak, he's like, I'm not going to do it anymore. But he continually does it because that's just the type of person they are. They just give and they don't ask for anything in return. But you know what? The universe hears that and they listen. And it's a big payoff. I see it happen time and time again. That's just one example, right? And these relationships are strongest, again, what we're talking about when they're based on mutual benefit, right? And being generous with your expertise, right, will support the foundation for meaningful, lasting partnerships, right? When you step foot and lead with value, you're positioning yourself from the other person because you actually give a shit, right? So others can trust you and they can depend on you, right? Here's another prime example from my own experience. So for a few years now, my team and I have been like the sole digital marketer when it comes to like, meta advertising for a company that sells, I think maybe last year, nearly like 2 million pounds of smoked salmon, right? The results we deliver definitely matter, certainly matter, right? But I don't think, the relationship didn't stem solely from performance. by a T, right? It began with taking time to really genuinely getting to understand, their business, their priorities, their challenges, through open channels of communication, regular touch points, and really just being supportive consistently. We built a deep connection that has stood the test of time over the years. And, it was this relationship first approach, in my opinion, that allowed us to establish this lasting partnership, right? That not only has endured, but, driven significant success for their business too. You know, relationships are the bridge between intention and achievement, right? And when you make them a priority, right? A priority, opportunities naturally follow. 1,000% goes without saying. Networking often feels overwhelming because people tend to approach it with the wrong mindset, right? It's not about collecting as many business cards or LinkedIn connections as possible. Instead, it's about creating authentic moments of connections with others, right? And when we can shift our mindset and our approach away from this, what can I gain from this interaction? How can I find common ground with this person? Networking starts to feel more natural or far less intimidating. You know, One way to connect authentically, right, is by sharing your story. I talk about it all the time. Be open about your experiences, your challenges, and your passions. When you share a piece of yourself, you invite others to do the same, right? Which creates a foundation of mutual understanding and trust, right? People, people aren't looking to connect with a polished sales pitch, right? They want someone, who's real and they can engage with, right? So here's another thing. I haven't done it yet, but today I'm going to an event where I'm going to hear, startups or people that are in startup mode give pitches. For me, that's going to be the first time where I've been around like that type of an investor environment. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, I think there's a total of 3 companies, 3 brands. Some are established. They have like a MMR, monthly recurring revenue, right? So they're up and running, in different types of vertical markets. So I'm going to be interesting to see like how these people interact with the audience, what stories hopefully they're talking about, because when you're pitching to a crowd, and I don't know how many people will actually be at this event today, um, in my mind, like you don't want to be too salesy. You don't want to just adhere to a deck, right? At least for my perspective, my logic of the story thinking is people want to hear a story. They want to feel a connection. They want to be like entrenched in like, I want to hear these stories. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping I'm going to be like, man, I feel what this other, founder or owner of this company or co-owner is saying. And I hope they win. That's what I hope. I go in there and my takeaway is after they talk, right? Because these authentic stories, they have a way of breaking down the barriers, breaking down the walls, right? And they make people feel comfortable. And that's where the magic and the connection happens. And I feel a lot of people miss that. And that's where a disconnect is, right? And like equally important, and that's in any relationship, is the ability to listen, like I was saying, more often than you speak. I think too often networking becomes a one-way flow of shit show of information about someone and what they offer, right? But the most impactful connection comes from deeply listening to others' stories, right? Their needs and their aspirations. And that's what I'm hoping to do tonight too. Like I want to do less talking and more listening, shaking hands, and just getting to know people and what they do. Right. Because when people feel heard, I think it's hopefully going to help, foster that trust and that mutual respect. Listening is more than just nodding along. It's actively engaging and responding in a way that shows you truly value their perspective and what they're having to say. Networking is really about creating relationships that go beyond transactional exchanges, right? Authenticity isn't just a tactic, it's the key to unlocking opportunities that go far beyond just one interaction, right? And when you can lead from a place of genuine interest and mutual respect, networking becomes less staged, less about strategies, and more about connecting as human beings. Another example, I have one of my closest friends, he's like a brother. He out of all the people I know, there's a couple of people, but him being probably the top three people I know in business. They don't run their own business, but they're part of a company, part of a startup, and he's been in the trenches for a long time. Hopefully he hears this content, and I'm not saying this to put him out there, and I won't drop his name, but this guy is like a brother to me. He is one of the best fucking networking people I have ever met in my life. People gravitate, heck, I gravitated him. He's like my brother nowadays, and I can remember, and it stems back to like us going out when we were younger, and like people would just gravitate towards him, and I'd be like, man, what's up with this guy? But people just really gravitate. He's just very a likable person, and I am so too, but he's more so than me. He has that innate ability to go out there and network and build these relationships, which is huge. That's what it means, right? That's where people get it, like him. He can build trust in moments leading up to just opening the doors that people never expected. That's what it's about. These strong relationships, right? They're at the core of any effective leader and team building. Great leaders don't just direct tasks or manage workflows. They cultivate trust and loyalty really by demonstrating genuine care for their team members and for their clients, right? When people feel valued and they respected, I think they're far more likely to, invest this crazy energy, the creativity to go to battle, go to war for you, right? And commitment to any work they're doing for that company, for this business, right? The foundation of trust transforms a group of individuals into a cohesive, motivated team. By building strong connections with your team, you really open the door to better collaboration, right? When trust exists, people feel safe sharing their ideas, asking for help, and even admitting their mistakes, excuse me. That sense of psychological safety really encourages creativity, drives innovation. More team members are more, comfortable contributing their unique perspectives, right? But, here's the other thing. On the flip side, when trust is absent, teams often operate in silos, right? Avoiding risks and miss out on the potential, that true collaboration can unlock, right? Leadership, it's really about creating that culture of respect. Do you respect me? Do they respect me? Do they respect their team member? And relationships, right, are key to making that happen. Respect isn't just about, it's not just about interactions that are polite. It's about genuinely understanding and valuing the strengths, right, and the contributions of everybody on your team, whether that's contractors, W-2 employees, right? When people as leaders, you make the effort to connect, to listen, and show empathy, it fosters a culture where hopefully people are going to feel more empowered to perform at their highest level and perform at their best. A positive environment just doesn't also improve morale. It helps to retain top talent, attract individuals who, want to be part of something more meaningful, right? But here's the kicker, right? At the end of the day, I think the success of any team often reflects the strength of its relationships, right? Leaders who prioritize relationship building, they don't just get results in the short term. They create the kind of lasting loyalty, that trust that fuels for long-term success, right? So whether that's through one-on-one conversations, right? Acknowledging, hard work, or simply just being present and approachable, right? That's showing that you care and what sets you apart. Relationships anchor your leadership style firmly in just being authentic, right? Which resonates not only with your team, but to every person that's connected to that business. So, by building these strong relationships, right, it still doesn't happen overnight, but the rewards, I think they can be well worth it. It all begins again with that authenticity, taking the time to genuinely connect with others, not just for, what they can provide, but who they are, right? Always check in with your existing partnerships too, right? It's solely easy to like forget creating new connections and forgetting about your current clients, but nurturing the relationships you already have, I think they can lead to more opportunities, right? And just deeper trust. Another one I want to talk about is patience, right? Patience is another element. Building meaningful trust, right? Build relationships take time and consistent effort. Small intentional actions like sending a quick message of appreciation or even like scheduling a follow-up, through any type of small meeting, I think can help strengthen a bond over time, right? You have to align these actions with what your values and your mission statement is for your business and create connections that are not just beneficial, but truly fulfilling, right? Relationships, right? They truly are our greatest assets in any business, no matter what you do. So treat them with care, treat them with intention, right? And the respect that they deserve. Thanks for tuning in to episode 62 of the Fit for Business podcast with me, Jarod Lehn. I hope you guys found this episode valuable, right? And if you did, please share, with your network or drop a comment below too. And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you guys next week.